But I think that if you look at the demographics when it comes to real estate right now, we have more households being formed than ever before. We have millennials that are moving out of literally their parents' houses in a lot of cases. We have baby boomers that are retiring, unlocking equity in their homes and coming after these same pieces of real estate that millennials are coming after in terms of single family rentals. And then we also have baby boomers and millennials that are choosing to rent.
So let's dive in a little bit more to the current circumstances of the marketplace, right? With multifamily properties and or debt that's adjusting, right? And just what's your temperature? What's your feel? If we're in a opportunistic marketplace now, what inning are we in? If you had to say, if it's like a baseball game, right? And what's your take on making offers, getting deals under contract? What's your feeling right now?
Yeah, so I have the view of the real estate market that's cyclical. So if we look back in time, you can go back to the 1850s where we started to record this in this country. And what we see is the real estate market typically goes through about an 18 to 19 year cycle. So it goes up, it comes down, it goes up, it comes down. And typically it goes up in 2 7-year cycles. We have a 4-year down cycle, and then it goes up again for another 2 7-year cycles. So if we measure this, we go back to 2012 was the last time we really hit the bottom of the cycle. And you move forward 7 years, end of 2019, we had the down cycle. People would say, well, Chris, that was COVID. But you can go back and we can have this conversation as long as you want, going back through time. I was talking about the end of 2019, being very wary of going into 2020. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't predict COVID, but when I saw it coming, I watched it very carefully. And one of the reasons is I was expecting a down year, like this mid-cycle slowdown in 2020. So if you go forward, 2020, 2027, we are looking at being right in the middle of that second 7-year growth period. And typically the biggest gains occur during this period. I would argue that a lot of the gains were kind of pushed forward into 2021. But I think that if you look at the demographics when it comes to real estate right now, we have more households being formed than ever before. We have millennials that are moving out of literally their parents' houses in a lot of cases. We have baby boomers that are retiring, unlocking equity in their homes and coming after these same pieces of real estate that millennials are coming after in terms of single family rentals. And then we also have baby boomers and millennials that are choosing to rent. So if you are in a good market, and I think this is very important, if you're in a growing market, so if you look across the country, rents are flat or down in a lot of areas. But if you're in a good market, like I was just talking about Nashville, Tennessee, they're up almost double digits year over year. That may surprise a lot of people. So if you're in a good market, if you have good fundamentals in that market and you have good debt, I think there's still some good opportunities out there. Now, all of that being said, I think it's a time to be cautious because prices are high. You have debt is high, so rates are high right now. And if you go into an opportunity that you're buying, you have to make sure that you're taking the right precautions. And there's 3 pretty simple rules that I think. 1, you want to buy a property that's cash flow positive. 2, you want to have common sense debt on that property, like say 70% or less in terms of loan to value. When you get into high loan to value and you had floating rate debt, no interest rate cap, a lot of people have gotten into trouble here. So I think there's going to be some opportunities because of that. And number 3, you want to have enough reserves in place so you can weather a storm. So if you're buying in a great area, if you're buying at a property that's cash flow positive, if you're putting solid debt on that property and you have reserves, I think there's still a lot of great opportunities out there. I think there's not as many as there may have been over the last 5 years, but I still think we have a nice window of opportunity. And also look forward, say, okay, after the next 3 years, there's probably going to be even more opportunities as people get into trouble. We have the presidential cycle that comes up here. And typically the second half of a presidential cycle, as we're coming into right now, you see a lot of money pumped into the system because that administration, they don't want to have the economy crash on their watch. So I think people were talking about a economic crash this year. I disagree with that. And I've been saying that for, the past year now. I think it's going to be another, 12, 18 plus months before we have a real true slowdown. So be opportunistic. Look at great markets, be smart when you're making acquisitions, and prepare for, the next 5 years. Start building your war chest right now.